Something happened. Maybe it was a message that didn't come when it was supposed to. Maybe it was a tone, just slightly off, nothing dramatic. Maybe it was a silence that lasted 4 seconds longer than felt okay. Nothing you could explain to someone else without it sounding like nothing. But your body registered it. And now, hours later, or maybe only minutes, something in you is not settled. You can feel it somewhere specific: the chest, the throat, the back of the jaw. You just don't have a name for what it is yet. This video is that name. Not a list of things wrong with you. Not a diagnosis of your attachment style. You probably already know that. This is a map of the specific physical sequence your nervous system runs when it detects a relational threat. What it looks like from the inside, where it lives in the body, and why it is doing exactly what it was built to do. By the end of this, you'll be able to point to what's happening right now and name it. And that name, used at the right moment, is the beginning of the exit. Before anything else, before this makes sense, one thing has to be said clearly. Your attachment system is not an emotional system. Not primarily. It is a threat detection system. It evolved to scan the relational environment for signals of safety or danger, and it does that scanning faster than conscious thought. By the time you are aware that something feels off, your nervous system has already run its assessment, already clocked the delayed response, already registered the flat tone, already begun shifting your physiology out of baseline. The thought comes second. The body fires first. This is not a malfunction. This is the system working exactly as designed, in an environment it was never designed for. Your attachment system was built in childhood, calibrated to the specific emotional climate of whoever raised you. It learned, what does safety feel like here? What does threat feel like here? What signals mean I am okay, and what signals mean I need to brace. And it has been running that same program ever since. In new relationships, with new people, in contexts your childhood self never saw. The 7 signs that follow are not 7 separate problems. They are one program running in sequence that you can learn to recognize. Recognition is where this starts. So here is what your nervous system is doing right now. Sign 1. The chest compression. There is a tightness that arrives in the center of the chest. Not pain, exactly. More like pressure. Like something is being held in place that wants to move. You might have noticed it and attributed it to anxiety. That's not wrong. But it's not the full picture. What's actually happening is this. Your autonomic nervous system is preparing the body for a threat response. The muscles of the chest and upper torso brace. The breath shortens. Oxygen is being redirected to the parts of the body that would need it if the threat were physical. Your nervous system does not know the difference between a predator and a partner who hasn't texted back. It only knows something in the relational environment changed, and it responds accordingly. The chest compression is the body's first announcement. The scanner found something. Sign 2. The throat constriction. Just below or alongside the chest compression, there is often something happening in the throat. A tightness. A sense of something caught. Sometimes the feeling that speaking would require effort, that the voice, if used, would come out strange. This is the laryngeal muscles responding to the same activation. The body is preparing for a threat response that includes the possibility of silence, of making yourself smaller, less detectable, less present. For people whose early environment required them to manage how much space they took up, the throat is one of the first places the nervous system goes quiet. Not because you decided to go quiet. Because the body remembers that quiet was sometimes the safer choice. Sign 3. The face scan. This one is so automatic that most people don't notice they're doing it until it's pointed out. At some point in the conversation, or even just in the anticipation of the conversation, you begin tracking the other person's face with a precision that goes beyond normal attention. The micro expressions, the speed of the smile, whether the eye contact feels the same as it usually does, whether the energy in the room matches what it was supposed to be. You're not doing this consciously. Your nervous system is doing it for you, collecting data points at a rate your conscious mind cannot keep up with. This is hypervigilance, not a personality trait, a physiological state. When the attachment system flags a potential threat, the brain's threat detection structures, specifically the amygdala, increase their sensitivity to social cues. You become, in the most literal neurological sense, a more efficient reader of the emotional environment. That's not crazy. That's your wiring doing exactly what it was trained to do. The system learned early. Pay close attention to their face. It will tell you what's coming before it arrives. Sign 4. The restlessness that won't settle. You can't quite land anywhere. You sit down and then stand up. You pick up your phone and put it down and pick it up again. You start a task and can't stay in it. There's an agitation in the body that isn't quite energy. It doesn't want to be used for anything. It just wants to move, because moving feels slightly better than stillness. What's happening here is the body preparing for action in a situation where no action is available. The threat response mobilizes the body. Fight, flight, do something. But the threat is relational. It's a silence, a tone, an ambiguity, and there is nothing to fight, nowhere to run. So the mobilization energy stays in the body, cycling. The restlessness is not anxiety looking for an outlet. It is a body that geared up for a response and has no environment to complete it in. Now we come to the shifts that often surprise people, the signs that look less like distress and more like something else entirely. Sign 5. The flatness that arrives without warning. This one is less talked about because it looks like calm. At some point in the activation, especially if the nervous system has been running this sequence for a while, something shifts. The agitation quiets. The face relaxes. You might even feel for a moment like you've settled, but there's a quality to it that isn't quite peace. It's more like absence. Like someone turned the volume down on everything, including you. This is the nervous system moving into a different threat response. Not fight or flight, but what researchers in polyvagal theory call the dorsal vagal state. Shutdown. Conservation. Going still because the system has been running at high cost and something had to give. It doesn't feel like a trauma response. It feels like going numb. And for many people, the numbness is actually more disorienting than the agitation, because at least the agitation felt alive. Sign 6. The time distortion. When the attachment system is activated, time changes. 10 minutes of silence feels like 40. A message that arrives in 2 hours is registered by the body as if it arrived in 2 days. This is not imagination. The brain's threat detection state actually alters time perception. Studies on stress and temporal distortion consistently show that perceived threat extends subjective time. Your nervous system is not being dramatic. It is in a state where time is supposed to move slowly because in a genuine threat environment, fast attention to small changes is what keeps you safe. So it slows everything down. And the waiting becomes unbearable in direct proportion to how much the outcome matters to the survival system. That's not weakness. That's a threat assessment system calibrated to a level of relational danger that may not exist in this moment, but that felt very real once. Sign 7. The self-monitoring loop. The last sign is the one that takes up the most energy. Somewhere in the activation, you begin monitoring yourself from the outside, how you sound. Whether what you just said was too much. Whether your face is giving something away you didn't mean to give. Whether your need is showing and what that need looks like from where they're standing. You split. Part of you in the conversation, part of you watching the conversation, assessing, editing in real time. This is the nervous system trying to manage the threat through self-regulation, controlling your own output because the other person's response feels uncertain, and the uncertainty is what the body cannot tolerate. Here is what all 7 of those signs have in common. They are not 7 problems. They are one event. Your attachment system detected a signal, a delay, a tone, a silence, a look that matched something it learned to treat as threat. And it ran the full sequence. Chest, throat, scanner, agitation, flatness, time distortion, self-monitoring. 1 program, 1 trigger, 7 expressions. And that program, the whole thing, is not a character flaw. It is what your body learned when closeness and safety were 2 things that didn't always arrive together. The pattern was intelligent once. It was built by a nervous system trying to protect someone who needed protecting. The only thing it got wrong is that it kept running after the environment that required it was gone. If any of those 7 signs are running in you right now, there is a resource in the description built specifically for this moment. Not for when you've calmed down and can reflect. For right now. For the activation, it's a somatic toolkit, 7 exercises calibrated specifically to attachment anxiety spikes, not generic stress relief. Each one is designed to complete what the nervous system started, so the activation can actually finish. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. So what do you do with this? Not later, when you've had time to process. right now, in the body, while it's still running. The first thing, and this is the thing that actually matters, is not to stop it. The impulse, when you recognize you're activated, is to try to get the activation to end. To manage it, suppress it, talk yourself out of it, do something that makes it go away faster. That impulse makes sense. But it is not what the nervous system needs in this moment. What the nervous system needs is to be witnessed, not fixed, not overridden, not argued with, witnessed. And the way you witness it is by naming it, not in a clinical way, not with distance or detachment. Just, this is what's happening. My attachment system is activated right now. My body is running a threat response to a relational signal. This is a known thing. I know what this is. Research on affect labeling, the practice of naming emotional and physical states, consistently shows that the act of naming a state reduces the intensity of the amygdala's response to it. Not eliminates, reduces. The body doesn't need the threat to disappear. It needs to know that someone, even just you, is aware of it. Naming the state is the first regulation. It creates 2 millimeters of distance between you and the activation. 2 millimeters is enough. Not to be healed, not to stop the spiral before it starts, just to be someone who is watching the activation rather than someone who is the activation. And in that 2 millimeters, that tiny real gap between the firing and the being is where everything that comes next actually starts. You don't have to get there all at once. You just have to get there once, and then again, and then, slowly, more often than not. That is not a small thing. That is the whole thing. Starting where it starts, in the body, in the signal, in the name. If you want to go further than naming, if you want to know what to do with the activation once you've found it, the nervous system first aid kit is in the description. 7 somatic tools built for exactly this triggered state, not for after it passes. Which of those 7 signs hit closest to home for you? And did you have a name for it before today? Here is what to carry from this. Not as a goal, not as something to achieve by the end of the week, as a fact about what just happened. The next time it starts, the chest, the throat, the scanner running, the agitation with nowhere to go, you have one sentence available to you now that you didn't have before. My attachment system is activated. My body is running a program it learned before I had words for any of this. This is a known thing. I know what this is. That's it. That's the whole sentence. You don't say it to make the feeling stop. You say it because the feeling has a name now. And a named thing is different from an unnamed thing, even when both feel the same in the body. The unnamed thing is a threat. The named thing is a signal. And signals, unlike threats, can be responded to, not reacted to, not suppressed, not survived. Responded to. Your body has been sending this signal for a long time. Probably since before you understood what it meant. Probably since before you had the language we used here today. It was never trying to ruin anything. It was doing the only thing a nervous system knows how to do when it encounters something that looks like what hurt you once. Pay attention. Brace. Be ready. You are ready. You have always been ready. What's different now is that you know what it's been preparing you for, and you know that the preparation and the threat are not the same thing anymore. One recognition at a time. That's how this moves. And you just had one.